Radiant, Holistic Paths to Wellness with Tanil Jacobs. Good morning, everybody. We're your host, Tanil Jacobs, and myself, Jason Wilson. How was your weekend, Tanil?
It was great. And yourself?
Great, great.
Let me just turn that up.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. Sorry, I just heard my phone beep in the side. Yes, how is everything?
Good, good. So you gave me an interesting topic to talk about today. We're going to be talking about from survival to self-actualization,
Mhm.
proactive mental wellness for where you are. I think this is so relevant for right now. I cannot wait to delve into this. But what was your motivation for this topic today?
Well, for one, it is kind of like the baseline of how I structured my practice using Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Because I understand that when it comes to, well, first of all, the proactive mental wellness part is key because people understand being proactive about their physical health, for example, right? But so often, mental health is just not considered until it becomes a like how can I put it? Until you're in like dire straits, right? Until
Right.
something intense has happened, then suddenly you start to pay attention to your mental health. And that's despite the fact that, the more research is coming out, the more we're figuring out that mental wellness is actually the core, it's at the baseline of even your physical wellness, right? We now
Yeah.
understand that mental concerns are actually, precursors to a lot of physical ailments. So, if anything, it's time to start being proactive about our mental wellness, not waiting until we're in a position of, being in some kind of a crisis, so to speak, which is how a lot of people view mental wellness, right? And that I guess comes mainly from the way society just tends to kind of push it aside, because there's no big physical pain, then it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, but then it slowly builds and builds and builds until it becomes a big deal. Right. So
Right.
essentially, the idea is, for us to stop being proactive, right? Not waiting until there's a crisis before we start addressing our mental health concerns. So yeah, so that was basically it. And when it comes to the Maslow's hierarchy, we have different levels, in our everyday life, right? Some people, to be very honest, are still operating in survival mode, right? And when you're in survival mode, it's hard to even consider, how this might be impacting your mental wellness. So ultimately, what things can you do when you're in that state? What things can you do at the next? And as you go up, there's always something that can be done to kind of really be proactive about your mental wellness, which is ultimately what it comes down to.
Okay. So what are these stages? And walk us through that.
Okay, so with Maslow's hierarchy, the very baseline is your physiological needs, right? So that's the core things that you need for survival: food, shelter, safety. Actually, safety comes second. So the baseline: do you have enough to eat? Are you sleeping well? Right? Are you, do you have enough water? So the core needs for survival, right? And then, so that's your foundation, your physiological needs. Then we have our safety needs, right? That's where now come, and this is part where a lot of people overlook, right? Your sense of safety. Like, are you feeling stable? Is there stability in your life, right? And especially nowadays with the amount of financial insecurity, a lot of people don't feel, that sense of stability because a lot of the times finances to be tied into our concept of stability. All right. But there's other things that can help you feel stable, which I guess we'll go into. So safety needs are next. And then love and belonging. Right. So once you've, physiological needs are taken care of, your safety needs are taken care of, then the next key part is love and belonging. Right. Your sense of community, your sense of being a part of something. And then esteem needs. This comes down to your accomplishments, right? Your sense of doing something meaningful with your life. And then self-actualization. So this is when you've got all these, you're good, you're not feeling unstable, you may be, usually financially secure, you're feeling like you're you're being productive, or you're actually contributing to society in a way that means something to you. And then finally, that self-actualization, it's taking you to that next level spiritually, right? For most people, that's what it comes down to. So as I said, different levels, you're able to do things that get you to the next level, with the goal actually being to be at that place where you're feeling so connected, you're feeling so secure, you're feeling so safe, your core needs are met, and now you can actually explore that spiritual aspect of your life, that part where you grow and be more authentic and creative, and realize your true potential, essentially.
Yes, I think right now, as you mentioned, people's financial situations right now are really, really difficult in a lot of cases. And so, of course, that's going to cause anxiety, depression, and other mental health concerns. Now, what are some of the solutions that that we can, incorporate into our daily lives in order to get to where we need to be with our mental health?
Well, what's interesting though is that people often put the financial status above the mental health. Like, basically, if I get good financially, my mental health will get better. Now,
Right.
this is something that I personally experienced when I was going through my postpartum depression, right? Because what happened is, when I was in that state, really in depth of my depression, I couldn't do anything, right? Like, I didn't have the energy to get out of bed. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't want to do anything. And of course, I was compounding because at that point I used to work Uber, right? So you have to literally get up and go out and, be on the road. And I just couldn't. I just didn't have the energy. I was in this this state where, and where, yeah, I couldn't. So it was contributing towards my financial situation. So it's funny because when I spoke to people, everyone just kept telling me, oh no, once your money gets good, or once your finances get better, you'll get better, right? However, it was actually very much the opposite. Once my mental health got better, then I was able to see more clearly, right? And be more motivated in order to do things and start taking steps to secure my financial stability. And one of the ways that I know this to be true was, there was a point once I was good financially, emotionally, like mentally, thanks to meditation and mindfulness, and I'll go into all of that, that I had an accident with my car, right? Which means I couldn't work for a month, right? And if anything, you would have thought that that situation would have dove me back into the state I had been previously, but it didn't, right? Because my mental state was good. So I was able to basically shoulder this and be like, okay, I'll just try and figure out what I'm going to do next. But it was actually having a clear mental state that opened up opportunities for me that I wouldn't have actually seen if I
Hmm.
just focused on let the money come and then you'll get better, right? It was actually my mental state that was contributing to the fact that I was having difficulty, like, even um, like being appreciative of what opportunities I did have in my life. So mental wellness really does come first, right? Because otherwise, if we're stuck in this state of lack, right, we end up draining ourselves, which means that at some point we'll reach that burnout that a lot of people in the corporate world will talk about, right? And when burnout hits, you will not be able to do anything. Right. So if you're not being proactive, the same way that they do with physical health, right? If you're not being proactive about your physical health, you'll end up with physical illnesses that kind of like make it difficult for you to do anything. And the same thing, applies to mental wellness. And believe it or not, I mean, I know every time we talk, I always come back to the same things, but mindfulness, meditation and mindfulness are a key way that you can actually just, add to your day. And you can start small, but just a moment of being still with yourself, right? Breathing, because our breath is our life force, right? Taking the time to breathe intentionally, just so that you can start to understand what's going on inside you, get out of your head. And then again, of course, with the journaling, that helps get out of your head as well. Because the calmer and the clearer you are, the more you start to see opportunities, the more you start to see things that you can do to get you to that next level, right? Whatever that may be. So yeah, so that's, I guess, ultimately, where it starts in terms of what we can do. Well, when you're at that, first of all, make sure your physiological needs are taken care of. Many of us don't get enough sleep because we're so stressed, and that's how I'm saying this is the kind of thing that puts you in that cycle. If you're convinced that, for example, money is going to solve all your problems, and don't get me wrong, yes, we need money. I'm not.
Yeah.
No means if I say no, right? And sadly, the way that the society is set up here, especially in the West, like those physiological needs, in order to meet those, you need money, right? So it's, yes, you do need money, right? However, it's, if you're pursuing that at the expense of your physiolocal needs, as in you're not getting proper sleep, right? You're foregoing proper nutrition, you're foregoing, all this stuff just to keep chasing, like, the financial aspect of your life, you're going to have a hard time getting out of this, and your mental wellness will start to crumble. Like, unquestionably, it will start to crumble.
I'm glad you brought that up because, in the case of insomnia, you're up late at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're thinking about your finances and all the things that you're behind on and whatnot. What can you do in that case?
Honestly, as I said, get yourself calm, because a lot of us, and listen, I've been guilty of this one too, right? When things start to pile up, we basically want to run away, right?
Hmm.
Instead, face it. Instead, have a look at the reality that you're in, right? And then come up with a plan. It will be a small thing, right? Because sometimes you may feel like, I'm the kind of person, for example, when it comes to bills, I don't like being late on my bills. Like,
No.
it actually makes me feel like I'm doing something completely wrong. So what happens is, when I start getting into that situation where now bills are late, um, there's a shutdown that happens, right? But learning to connect with myself, I reminded myself that it's okay, right? We can get through this. And then being proactive in things like that there means, for example, reaching out to the bill collectors and telling them that this is my situation. And you'll be surprised how often people are willing to work with you and
Right.
kind of like, minimize that stress instead of avoiding it, instead of running away from it, instead of coming down on yourself about it, right? And then in the meanwhile, seeing what else can be done, because it's hard. Right. And I'm telling you, like, right now, because even within, so I go to church on Sunday, even at church right now, they're talking about this, right? The financial situation for people right now is a lot, right? And it's hard to stay focused on your mental wellness, right? When you believe there's these bigger, issues at hand because you're struggling financially. Get back in touch with you, right? Try just to be present, to be here, to know that right now you're okay. This stuff can be dealt with,
Right.
but you can get back to you, because sacrificing your health for that will just compound the situation and make it worse, right? So,
Absolutely.
and it's hard, and yes, because, and as I said, with the whole insomnia thing, this is where journaling comes in. Write it down. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. Get your thoughts down. Write it down so that they're out of your head, and then try and get some sleep, right? Because even as you write it down, you may find yourself automatically starting to problem solve, right?
Hmm.
Starting to see things clearer, because we stay in our heads, and the worst thing is we stay in our heads, and we also start to create narratives around what's going on in our head, and a lot of
Right.
those narratives are, to be very honest, unhelpful. Like, they're not helpful, right? On one hand, either we'll start getting down on ourselves, or for allowing ourselves to get into the situation, whether or not we never intended to get there, right? It's, life is tough right now for everyone, right? Or projecting into the future, this worst case scenario that's going to happen. Neither one of those things are actually very helpful, right? So recognize the thought, get the thought out of your head, write it down, right? And then try and look at it from a detached perspective. What's the reality of the situation that you're in, right? And when you see the reality of it, then you're able to, like, things will come to you, but you have to get back in touch with you, because the answers, I've said this many times, the answers do lie within you, right? But you have to make space for those answers to come to you. And when you're busy in your mind, and again, no one chooses to be that way. It happens automatically, particularly when you're stressed, right? You can stop the thought. You can remind yourself, that's not helpful. Right?
Right.
That's not helpful right now. Okay. And either you take it out of your mind, right? Or you come up with that. Again, some mantras work for people sometimes here, right? It's like right here, right now. Ground yourself, right? Bring yourself right back to right now. Because the past it's pointless getting down on yourself about things that you've done in the past. It's pointless projecting negativity into your future. Try and stay right now. And this is where mindfulness and meditation come in. That's a key part with that. It's just trying to bring you right back to here and now, right? And then journaling, trying to get you out of your head so that you can look at things a little bit more objectively.
That is so good. And you said something else that I really, really like as well. Being grateful, gratitude, finding something to be grateful about. No matter how bad things are, there's always something that you can
Yeah.
be grateful for, right?
Yeah.
So
One
that's really, really important.
And honestly, it really is. And it's truth, it's hard because especially when we have these expectations, right? That of what maybe our lives should be, of sometimes maybe we've made decisions that have led to things where they are right now. Getting down on yourself about those decisions. Understand when you made those decisions were the right decision for you at that moment. There was no way you could know the outcome, right? So being bad on yourself because things didn't turn out the way you expected is not very helpful. At the time you made those decisions for a good reason, right?
Right.
And that's it, right? Now you've learned a lesson as a result of it. That's okay, right? We get sometimes very attached to outcomes, and that's what makes us feel very disappointed when those outcomes they don't come forward. But instead, if we look at the outcome that has come forward and what we can learn from it, right? Or even some things that we've actually benefited, because most times there is something. It's funny because I was watching with my daughter this. There's a TV show called Bluey for kids. It's amazing. Like any kids should definitely watch Bluey. But there was an episode where the kids were like worried about a change that was coming, right? And one of the things that they read was a story about this person that had a series of things happen to them. And every time, one thing happened, the crowd or the neighbors would either say, "Oh, you're so lucky," right? And the person would respond, "Well, we'll see," right? And then they'd say, "Okay, because of this happened, this other thing happened," and it turns up being a bad thing. And then the neighbors would be like, "Oh, you're so unlucky." And the person's response was clearly, "We'll see." And that's how this whole story kind of unfolded, a series of good things and bad things where everybody around it was always judging it as either being good or bad, but that person stayed neutral and said, "We'll
Hmm.
see," which is ultimately what it comes down to, right? Because something bad may be happening, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world or that you're unlucky, right? Because something good could be coming as a result of that, and vice
Right.
versa. Something really good could happen, but something bad might be around the corner. But every single step you take, it's just you got to be here and now and just take it as we'll see.
That is great advice.
So,
Yes. So I'm so glad you brought that up because um, if it's not financial, it could be something dealing with somebody's like family member or a friend or something like that, or it could be some other kind of external situation that people are dealing with. It's not always the finances. So
100%. It's not always finances, it's relational too, right?
yeah.
People's relationships are falling apart. People are getting into new relationships. We've got, as I said, we've got all these different levels to which our life, is going through. And this is why, again, being proactive at every level, right? Because we have to recognize, as I said, the baseline: get fed, sleep properly, eat properly,
Yeah.
right? And then safety. What brings you safety? And a lot of the times when it comes to safety needs, one of the things that gets in the way of us feeling safe is our trauma, right? A lot of the times our trauma. So this is where sometimes dealing with your trauma, whether that's through counseling, whether that's through coaching, someone helping you get over your limiting beliefs, so you can actually start to feel. I mean, I can't tell you how many of the people that I've worked with, that seems to be the core issues related to safety, right?
Hmm.
And when I say issues related to safety, it's that most of the limiting beliefs are fear based, right? And fear based limiting beliefs are exactly that. You don't feel safe about something, right? Fear is it's a big factor for why people make rash decisions, right? It's something that we can get out of our own way with if we allow ourselves to get to the bottom of that fear, right? And as I said, for some people that can be counseling. There are other aspects, and even just these grounding works, like the kind of stuff that April does with biodynamic breath work, meditation,
Yeah.
breath work, getting into you, right, can help you to kind of like realize that you can release some of the fear, right? And so, yeah, dealing with your trauma is a good way to actually help you get back those safety needs so that you don't feel like you need to be operating this in this reactive state all the time out of fear, which is what fear tends to do. Right. And then, of course, love and belonging. This is why it's so important to have community. I mean, I've said it in the past, right? Find your circle, because
Yeah.
having the right people around you makes a huge difference, right? Having people that care about you and support you, right? Recognizing when it's time to, cut off those situations that aren't serving you, right? So that you can actually get a sense of love and belonging, right? And the thing about it is that not everybody is able to have that like in their physical life, but this is why virtual life is actually okay too. Right?
Right.
Join virtual groups like with people that are like-minded, right? And start your community that way, and start to find your people, know where you belong, because loving belonging is one of those core things that we need to start feeling safer in the world. And then, as I said, finally, it's, not finally, but the next one is, as I said, those esteem needs, right? What are you working towards? What steps can you take? This is where coaching comes in. I mean, there's different types of
Yeah.
coaching, right? If the thing that you care about is your career, let's say, for example, there's career coaching, right? If you care about your relationships, there's relationships coaching. But sometimes you need a little help along the way, and that's what coaches are good for, because one of the beautiful things is, at least if the coach is doing a good job, they're there to support you in a way that encourages you, right? So that you can start to really build that self-empowerment, and recognize that you can take the moves and the steps that you need to get to whatever it is that you're trying to get to, right? So there's different levels of support along the way, right? Depending on what it is that you're trying to do, but you don't have to do it alone. And that's one of the biggest things, is especially when you're in that survival mode. A lot of people in survival mode feel like they can only, survive on their own. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to find help. And it's okay, you can start on your own. But as you get more in touch with yourself, you'll start to realize that connecting with others is a big part of your growth.
Absolutely. I'm so glad I'm connected to you as my coach, and I'm surrounded by all these other wonderful coaches as well in Circle of Friends Club. Now, speaking of mindfulness, we've come to that part in our show for our meditation. Take it away.
Absolutely. All right. So again, as always, I do like to use the lunar energies for the day for my meditations. So let's see. Today we have got the moon's a waxing crescent, and it's in Sagittarius. So this is a great time for building on that foundation of safety and stability. I'm going to keep it within the theme of what we discussed, focusing in on safety and stability. Okay, so again, before we go, just to let you know more about this phase is all about setting intentions, about growth, moving forward with optimism. It's a time for nurturing foundational aspects of our lives, right? For planting those seeds that will grow and provide support for our well-being. And with the moon in Sagittarius, this is a sign that's known for like curiosity, optimism, the desire for exploration. So today we'll harness this energy to focus on building a strong foundation that supports our survival needs, creating stability and security so that we can expand and thrive. Right? So this meditation will allow us to set the intention for meeting our basic needs with optimism and clarity. Okay. So let's start. Let's begin. Find a comfortable seat. Close your eyes. Rest your hands gently on your lap or knees. Now, take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Let's begin by breathing in for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, and exhaling for a count of 4. Okay. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold again, 2, 3, 4. With each inhale, imagine yourself bringing in grounding energy, filling yourself with a sense of stability and strength. With each exhale, release any tension or worry that prevents you from feeling safe and secure. So let's continue breathing this way for a few more rounds. Inhale, drawing in stability. Hold, allowing it to settle. Exhale, releasing any fears or uncertainties. Okay, now let's move through the body, focusing on clearing out any tension and establishing a sense of security and stability. Start by bringing your awareness to the base of your spine. This area represents your connection to the earth, your sense of safety and stability. Imagine a warm, steady glow here, one that helps you feel deeply rooted, supported, and secure. With each breath, let this feeling grow, extending down through your legs and into the earth below. Next, bring your attention to your lower abdomen, just below your navel. This area is where you hold your creative power to solve problems and adapt to changes. Imagine a gentle warmth here, bringing balance and a feeling of resourcefulness. Now move your awareness to the area above your stomach. Here is the center of your personal power. Envision a steady golden light filling this space and bringing a feeling of inner strength and confidence. As you breathe in, let the strength grow, knowing that you are capable of meeting your needs. Now bring your focus to the center of your chest, where love and compassion reside. Allow a comforting warmth to fill the space, reminding you that you deserve to feel safe, loved, and supported. Finally, bring your awareness down through your legs to your feet, connecting firmly with the ground beneath you. Feel the steady presence of the earth anchoring and supporting you. With each breath, allow any remaining tension to release down through your body and into the ground, leaving you feeling deeply connected and stable. Now silently repeat these phrases or say them aloud if you feel comfortable. I am safe. I am supported. I am grounded in the present moment. My body is strong and I am secure. I trust myself to meet my needs. Take a few moments to let each affirmation settle in with each breath. Before we close, take a moment to reflect on these questions. What do I need today to feel safe and secure? How can I nurture my basic needs to build a strong foundation? What small step can I take today to support my sense of stability? Allow whatever comes to mind to flow freely without judgment. Trust that whatever arises is what needs your attention today. Take one final deep breath in, breathing in a sense of grounding and stability. And exhale fully, feeling supported and present. When you're ready, gently open your eyes, carrying this sense of stability and grounded energy with you as you move forward into your day.
Those are so wonderful. I love how you incorporate affirmations in there. I mean, it's very, very powerful. It brings you back to yourself. Thank you so much for all you do, Tanil.
You're very welcome, Jason, and thank you for having me as always.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day, wonderful week ahead. We will be back next Monday at the same time at 11:30 Eastern. Take care.
Take care. Bye.